going to be a good night tonight at the Kansas City Public Library. 2 weeks until April 2nd, Election Day in Jackson County on the Chiefs and the Royals sales tax issue. And no one better in this town to lead this debate and moderate this thing than our buddy Nick Haines of Kansas City PBS. Nick, you got your boxing gloves on? Are y'all ready to rock tonight?
Well, your producer called me and I didn't answer, and that's because my phone I'm being harangued. I mean, we could have 26 seats on this stage. Everybody's an expert now on this stadium tax. You know that. And everybody wants a slice of the action. And we've already packed the joint out. We've got about 600 people there. It's over capacity, dealing with security issues. It's just a big, big deal. But clearly, who says nobody's interested in local elections? This has really got people fired up.
It certainly does. So you have people who want to be like late additions to your panel, or they just want to voice their opinion?
On a daily basis.
Oh, really?
That's probably two or three a day of those, Pete. But what's interesting is a lot of that. Some of the folks who are were very early on asking for that opportunity are a little bit more transactional and could be persuaded otherwise if the community benefit agreement comes through, or there is other kinds of funding made available for those groups. One of those would be the Crossroads, where they haven't put their thumb on the scale after all of the indignation and indigestion over the Royals moving to the Crossroads as their preferred site. They haven't come out at this point in time, and they're not putting their thumb on the scale to say they're for or against the tax.
Oh, that is okay. Well, listen, that is very, very smart of you, and that's why you're the best, because you can't put people on the panel who could theoretically be bought off by either side.
Yeah, and that's a real tricky deal. The other thing interesting about today, and I'm really happy about tonight's presentation, actually, even before this was put on the ballot, the library was really struggling with this issue, and people were asking all these questions. So they brought in a national sports historian who has been looking at all these trends in what's been happening in stadiums. He was going to be at the library that night. We have basically co-opted his presentation. We said, look, can we share the stage with you? And he will also help inform what's happening, because we can talk a lot about what's happening here, teams going downtown and so on. But in many parts of the country, there are teams that have decided in recent years to move to the suburbs, not downtown. So he's going to help really inform this conversation beyond the normal pro and con voices we've been hearing in this community.
And just for the record, Nick, you can confirm to this audience, I never once reach out to you about any of this. So I'm just sitting here on the sidelines doing my thing every morning.
You are beyond reproach. Let that be on your tombstone. Pete Mundo is beyond reproach. No, you certainly did not. But it is a lot to deal with, and people don't. Just like doing your own show, people think, oh, you're just talking for a few hours. I mean, there's prep work that goes into it. There's a lot of research. A lot of people are putting pressure on you. And what's interesting about this tax, actually, Patrick Toohey from the Show Me Institute is on this panel as one of the opponent voices. But I met with him months and months ago. He thought, he was going to be the only opponent, because at that time, nobody was coming out against this tax. And in fact, in Kansas City, by and large, when these kinds of things come up, there is usually just token opposition.
Yeah.
And so this has been kind of remarkable in that way, that you've got so many different kinds of constituencies coming forward to oppose the tax. But I will say this, it's interesting now that you've got, the yes side are bringing up more and more endorsements. And it was interesting, one of the early opponents of this were independents, business owners who were terrified they're going to lose their businesses, their restaurants, and so on, because a lot of people go there before the Royals and Chiefs games. But now I see that the yes side has got the endorsement of the Independents Chamber of Commerce. So, they're all racking up different levels of support, and it'll be interesting to see who actually shows up on April 2nd on that Tuesday.
Yeah, well, if you're going to have a full house tonight, 600 people at the library, that's a good indication of how engaged people are on this vote coming up on April 2nd. And by the way, you will air this 7:30 Friday night on Kansas City PBS in place of Week in Review.
That is correct. So we're going to turn that thing around, and we will hear all of the different voices that come to us. We don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it's going to be feisty, but we're looking forward to it.
It is. All right. So tonight you're going to have Sly James, former Kansas City mayor. Of course, he's on the yes side here. You mentioned Patrick Toohey, our friend at the Show Me Institute. Patrick will be on the show tomorrow at 8:30 in his usual spot.
Yes.
Becky Nace, former council member, and she is the chair of the committee against the new Royal Stadium taxes. Gary Sarnoff, author and baseball historian, and Sarah Torville.
He's our umpire.
He's your umpire.
Sarah
Okay.
Torville.
Look at you with the lingo, the American sports lingo.
What I tell people internally, and you're the only other person I'm telling now, I said, look, I have tried not to put my own finger or thumb on the scale by not attending any Royals or Chiefs games in the last year. So I could be totally impartial when it comes to this.
Well, whenever you're ready, Nick, we'll take you out to a game and have a great time. Last but not least on this panel, Sarah Torville, Executive VP of the Royals.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get her and get the team involved in this and what could be, a tough night for them?
Well, that is a great question, Pete. And you know what? Let me tell you, early on, we were certainly looking for John Sherman to be part of this. I mean, we've been sort of looking at this for months in planning, and we could not find one date that he would commit to. And so we had sort of given up hope of anybody from the teams being there, and we thought there were enough other voices we could use. And in fact, she came in at a very late stage. Sly James wanted her there, and I think that's fair because ultimately, you could think about the Chiefs are part of this, and Chiefs will get half the money. Most of the questions really relate to the Royals, and to have somebody to be able to answer from the inside is incredibly important. So she is the Chief of Commercial Development for the Royals and also the Chief Community Impact Officer. That's where a lot of those questions come from. And she was with Fox Sports and ESPN for 20 years before this, so knows a lot about sports.
Yeah. What about any protesters, any loud opponents making their voices heard, disrupting this event? How concerned are you, Nick? And are we going to have to get your private security to take care of these folks, which I know you have?
Well, I will be actually a hologram there to protect myself. You can only do your best. And that's the deal. But absolutely. And that's why I said to you, we could have 26 chairs on that stage, and then people will still be saying their voice wasn't heard. You look at, when it comes to the community benefit agreements, for instance, I mean, there's probably 6 to 7, if not 8 or 9 different groups that are involved in that. Then you have the Kansas City Public Schools, for instance, even, who are sort of certainly concerned about all of that potential property being taken off the tax rolls in the crossroads. That would affect them, for instance. I mean, there's just so many different groups. You can only do so much, and we're at the library. We're taking security precautions, as they say, and we will get through this together, Pete. So perhaps that question will be better answered tomorrow morning, Pete.
Stay safe out there, Nick. If you need any help, if you need any bodyguards, I know we have listeners that'll take great care of you. If you need it last minute, just reach out, okay?
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right. Good luck, Nick. We love you, buddy. See you later. That is Nick Haines, Kansas City PBS. He is hosting this event tonight at the library, 6 o'clock. 600 folks going to be out there. It's sold out. And something tells me it's going to be a raucous event.